They appear when the sea is calmest and vanish when someone tries to get closer. Those who follow them don't come back. In this video, you'll understand why some fishermen would rather face starvation than chase a drifting boat. The sea has its own secrets. It speaks in silence, calls without a voice, and when it decides to take someone, it never gives them back. That night, the ocean looked dead. The surface was smooth like glass, not a single wave in sight, like the whole world was holding its breath. Ignacio, a veteran fisherman, knew something was wrong. The sea is never that still without a reason. His instincts screamed before his eyes even registered what was coming. An old dark vessel, lifeless, drifting against the current as if guided by something invisible. No lights, no sounds, only the faint creaking of wet wood and the crushing weight of the unexplainable hanging in the air. And the strangest part, he was sure he saw someone on the deck, but the face didn't look human. It looked far too pale, far too still. Ignacio wasn't the only one who felt it. There were 3 of them on the boat that windless night, and they all grew restless. No one spoke, but they were all staring in the same direction, as if something deep in their guts was pushing them to face the impossible. Mateo, the youngest, swore he saw a child waving from the mist, standing right on the deck of that strange ship. The others looked. Nothing. Just the thick white fog swallowing everything. But right then, a nearly physical sensation gripped them all, like something had slipped inside their minds. The boat was calling, but not with words. It was like their thoughts were being molded, redirected, twisted, and by the time they realized, their engine had died, just stopped. And even with no wind, no current, they were drifting, pulled straight toward the ghost ship. That was the moment when logic completely broke down. Mateo, clearly in some sort of trance, jumped into the water without saying a single word. Ignacio shouted. The other crew member ran to the edge, trying to grab him. But Mateo swam with a speed that didn't seem possible. When he touched the weathered hull of the drifting ship, he simply vanished. Didn't sink, didn't float, just disappeared, like he had been swallowed by an invisible wall. Panicked, Ignacio rushed to the radio, but instead of static, he heard a voice, not a familiar one. It was muffled, almost submerged, repeating the same sentence in a tone that seemed to echo inside his skull. "You came too." And he knew that voice wasn't coming from the radio. It was coming from inside the ship. Ignacio tried starting the motor, tried paddling, tried screaming, but everything around him felt frozen in time. The night never ended. The boat's clock was stuck at 4:03 a.m. The compass spun in circles as if North had vanished from the planet. Their phones wouldn't turn on. And that mysterious vessel? It was gone, vanished before their eyes as if it had sunk into the air itself. When rescuers found them 3 days later, only Ignacio was left, alone, dehydrated, eyes hollow, mind shattered. He kept whispering Mateo's name like a broken record, but there was no record of anyone named Mateo on the crew list. The system showed that Ignacio had gone out to sea, completely alone. After that day, he never returned to the ocean, wouldn't even walk the streets at night. He stayed indoors, writing letters to someone no one else seemed to know. Letters filled with talk of footsteps on the roof, shadows in mirrors, and eyes watching him through the windows. Neighbors said he never slept, that lights would flicker on at 3 a.m., always followed by wet sounds across the wooden floorboards. In his last note, left at the door before he vanished, he wrote only, "He came back, but not for me. Police found the house empty. Everything was in order except for the wet footprints on the floor. Footprints that led from the door straight toward the sea. And if one day, while you're looking out at the ocean, you see a drifting ship, silent, motionless, with someone waving, remember this: not all ships are empty, and not all crew members are alive. Some vessels want to be followed, but you might not return the same, if you return at all. Ignacio vanished as if he had been erased from reality. But the story, it remained, echoing in the whispers of older fishermen, in the goosebumps of those who cross the waters at dawn, in the eyes of people who've seen things they can't explain. The village he once lived in carries that secret like a wound that never heals. People avoid speaking his name. They never, under any circumstance, look out toward the horizon for too long after sunset. Because they know that sometimes when the sea is too quiet, he's watching, waiting, repeating the cycle with someone else foolish enough to get close to what should never be touched. And the scariest part, Ignacio's story isn't the only one. In other coastal towns, forgotten harbors, similar tales repeat. Ships that appear out of nowhere, hours of silence, clocks that freeze, and people who simply vanish. In 2009, off the coast of Chile, two fisherman brothers claimed they saw an old ship shrouded in dense fog. As they got closer, they heard prayers in Latin and muffled screams from inside the hull. The vessel disappeared right before their eyes. They made it back to shore, but one of them never spoke again. He just kept drawing that same ship over and over, then burning the pages as if trying to stop something from escaping. These stories, even without concrete proof, carry a truth that logic can't explain, a truth that weighs and that changes people. That's why this video isn't just a story, it's a warning. Because the ocean is the largest graveyard in the world, and not everything dead stays submerged. Ghost ships are real. Some are just empty wood drifting. Others are traps, lures, floating gateways between this world and something else entirely. And when you see one of them approaching alone on the horizon, you're not witnessing a coincidence. You're being chosen, provoked, tested, because there are things, entities, maybe even minds in the sea that don't follow our rules, don't share our logic, and don't care about our boundaries. They just exist. They observe and they pull you under when you least expect it. Maybe you think this is all exaggeration, just superstition. Tales from lonely fishermen driven mad by salt and wind. But think about it. If the ocean can hide giant creatures, lost cities, even entire airplanes, why wouldn't it hide something darker? Something that can't be documented, something that doesn't want to be seen, only felt in the exact moment you realize it's too late to escape. The horror in these stories isn't just in what happens, but in what they leave behind. An invisible trace, a presence, a mark that sticks to the soul of anyone who listens, and from the moment you hear it, it knows you know. And now you heard it, you saw it, and if one night while walking on the beach you notice a shadow far out at sea, a lone sail, the faint creak of wood on the waves, don't stare for too long. Don't try to understand, and never go closer. Because maybe it's not just an abandoned ship, maybe it's him coming back again, looking for a new name to call, someone who thinks nothing will happen, someone curious enough to follow. And when that happens, remember the last thing Ignacio ever wrote. He came back, but not for me.